Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Senate Roundtable. This is one of those rare moments where we're getting around to a new road ahead the day after it has been, well, I guess it's been a little bit more than a day, but very close to when the most recent road ahead was released. And we have a lot of great people here joining us today to talk about the road ahead and how it's going to affect us as players within Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and our alliance in general. So I'm going to first start by introducing Lab Monkey, who obviously everyone who listens to our podcast is very well aware of. Lab, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what guild you're in and kind of your GP and whatever general information you want to throw out there.
Sure, thanks, Rem. This is Lab Monkey. I am an officer in Mandalore, and I am just above 8 million GP. Currently farming Jabba. I've got all the other GLs, including the two ship GLs. So trying to stay somewhat close to the top of the meta, and of course failing miserably because CG wants all of my money and they can't have it.
Fair enough. Great introduction. All right. So everyone knows the next person I'm going to introduce. He's my partner on my regular 2MFers podcast, and that is Brax Nightfinder. Say hello to everyone and tell us a little bit about yourself.
How's everybody doing? Brax Nightfighter here, officer in Mustafar, also the assistant head of recruiting for the Alliance. I'm rocking the 7.6 million GP right now. I have two GLs, working on my third, and just ready for the next ball of crap that CG has to throw at me.
Wow, there's definitely a momentum heading here. Next up is one of the fathers of this alliance. It's always a privilege to have him on with us. He really is a reason why we're all sitting here talking and why the alliance exists. So, Thole, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me on, Rim. This is Thole. I'm one of the officers in Mandalore, no longer the guild leader because I took a 1 week sabbatical to decide that I really can't quit this stupid game. And I'm currently at 10 GP, 10 million GP. And I'm with Lab. I'm farming ish Java, and can't wait for Dr. Aphid Afro. I'm not sure what she does, but because she's a comic book person, I guess. So anyways, just interested for all the new stuff that's coming out, and CG is more than happy to have me pay for and farm and everything. Yeah.
Well, so the next two people, I'm sorry.
He's more like the guild grandfather, by the way.
Well, yeah. Father, grandfather,
grandpappy Thole.
He's definitely getting up there in age. Let's all agree to that. That coming from the guy who broke his hip. So, all right. So the next two people I'm going to introduce have been regular contributors over the past 6 months or so, and we've really enjoyed having them with us. The first is R2DQ. Thanks for being such a great contributor. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. As Rem said, I'm R2DQ. I'm the guild leader of Mortis. I have about 8.2 million GP, 4 GLs, and both GL ships. Working on my 5th GL now.
All right. And so the next person that's a part of this is Meadulator. Thanks again for joining us. You've been a great contributor lately. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Ram. I'm an officer in Endor. We're a guild that's around 390 million. I have an account that's 6.5 million, 4 GLs. I have Executor, and I'm working on Profundity.
All right, so we have a fun person that we're adding to the conversation tonight. They've actually been on a podcast before, but it's mostly been within the. It hasn't been on this particular one in the past, and that's Chameleon. Chameleon, thanks for joining us. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself. We're looking forward to your contributions tonight.
I'm glad to be here. So I am Chameleon X. I'm one of the officers for Mandalore. Basically run all of TB for Mandalore. I am at
That's a
9.
big job, by the way. I do it for most of ours. So go
Yeah,
on. Sorry.
it's fun. My beard has gone great over the last few years. I'm at 9.4 million GP, and I just unlocked Jabba, so I'm at all 7 GLs and both GL ships, and working on Grand Inquisitor next.
Oh, Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, I know.
We'll get to that conversation later. All right. So again, I am tonight's host, Rim. I am with Mustafar. Mustafar and Jeddah. I run 2 accounts. Both accounts are about 7.3, 7.4 million GP. My Mustafar account has 4 GLs. My Jeddah account has 3 GLs. My Mustafar account is close to having its 5th, whereas Jeddah is going in a different way that fits an up and coming guild a little bit better. So I'm focusing on some other areas. So let's get started in our conversation tonight. We had a road ahead drop, and it was rather interesting, and we felt there was a need to have a strong conversation about it. So as we begin this conversation, let's go through the easiest part of it. We're coming up on an anniversary for the game. And as a result, they're going to drop a bunch of rewards down at us. I think they're doing a little bit better year after year of increasing the rewards. Don't fall into a trap. They're going to give you a lot of shards for tunes, especially for lower level players that you have no business farming at this point in time. But the gear is actually pretty good. I'd say it adds up to about $50 if you I didn't do the math. I just kind of did it mentally in my head. They continue to get better than the 3 Chewy shards. What do you guys think?
It's
I mean,
good. The
generally
only thing
speaking, go ahead, Mead.
I was like, it's good. The only thing they left off this year, they must have forgotten, but there's no cryotech on it this year, which is a little
Yeah.
unfortunate. But aside from that, yeah, it looks all of it looks great.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, I would love some Kairos on there, and I wouldn't hate some micro attenuators, but that's a new enough thing that I can forgive them for not putting it on there.
I think the micro attenuators are coming with a calendar. We're getting 120.
Ooh, I saw
Yeah.
that there was a calendar coming. I didn't see the details of it though.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like 5 Omicron mats on there too.
Yeah, I think those calendars are where they're going to make up for those other things that we'd love to see on there. I'm giving CG some credit that they've gotten better at rewarding players for their longevity as they go through the game. But we have a historian in the room, Thole. I thought it might be interesting for you to talk about the legacy of the 3 Chewy shards.
Actually, I don't remember how it all started. I think it was CG thought that they were actually doing everybody a favor by doing that, and again, it's been so long ago, 7 years ago, that I don't remember all the details around it, but it's turned into basically a running joke that they always give 3 Clone War Chewy shards now because, and like I said, I think it was I don't know if it was a make good or if what it was, and everyone was like, "Oh, gee, thanks, 3 Clone War Chewy shards, that's awesome." And they got so
Yeah.
much crap for it that now it's just kind of a running joke, and you always get 3 Clone War Chewie shards. So
Well,
Yeah,
I think
Go
the
ahead.
thing is at the time is that was probably one of the first tunes that you were able to get
right,
to,
yes, yeah, it was an
to
original
whatever
tune.
level at the time. And so, yeah, like by giving that, it was I think a joke. I kind of wonder if it was something internally in CG where they were like, hey, we should just start doing that because somebody was stupid and threw that idea out, or
Yeah,
So
I
I
think
was
Clone Wars Chewie was actually my first squad leader in Squad
yeah,
Arena.
yeah.
well, and so that's kind of where it came from. The 3 Clone Wars Chewie shards uh was the first make good CG ever did.
Yeah,
It was
that's what I thought. Yeah,
Yeah, they I can't remember what the screw up was, and they threw out 3 Clone Wars Chewie shards. By the way, at that point in time, Shard Shop didn't even exist.
nope.
The vast majority of players already had Chewie at 7-star because he was in the early days somebody that you needed to have, and it was just the biggest kick in the face to players.
Yeah,
what what I appreciate is CG after that sort of owned it. They did throw a make good after the 3 Chewy shards. They realized that that was really a kick in the face of the players, and it's always been a joke since then. CG will just throw in 3 Chewy shards
yeah,
into anything, and
they're basically trolling themselves.
exactly. They
Right.
understand. It's basically a joke that they understand that they're in the game to make money, and they probably went too far in that moment. So I've always appreciated the joke, but I know a lot of new players probably don't understand that that is them making fun of themselves.
Mm.
So I appreciate the running joke.
The
Any
only
other
thing that I
comment?
thought was, well, I was
I'm
going to
sorry.
say the only thing I thought that was kind of goofy about the rewards, which they're great. I mean, I'm not going to complain about free things, but um, 1 Omicron mat and 25 Zetas. I mean, it's kind of like, and I guess we're getting that calendar that I think Lab mentioned that there's 5 Omicron mats on it, so maybe that's why there's only 1. But I don't know. I just think that if it was like 1 full Omicron, okay, that would be amazing. But it's not. It's going to be the mats to have an Omicron ability. So that's why I don't know if that's a typo or if that's just really just 1. And it's like, okay, well, I can farm 1 Omicron mat in a week. So
Well, so I could tell you from experience, they did the same thing with Zetas after they were recently released. They gave fewer Zeta mats than you needed to actually get a full one. And it was kind of a way to make newer players salivate over that particular item. So trust me, their anniversary rewards are thought through very heavily over how they can not only make people who are established within the game feel, okay, I've gotten something, this is good, all of this works well, but nothing they do is going to ignore the possibility of getting people locked into a game mode that maybe they wouldn't have been previously.
Well, I think we're also talking about these rewards um, playing at a higher level in the game. But if you think about it on some of these newer accounts, that
Yeah.
might be a little more significant.
Now, what would be really interesting is if they said, here, you can have 5 Omicron mats, but you can only apply them to a TB Omicron.
Wow.
It wouldn't shock me if they did that. I just don't think that they're willing to put the coding into it
Right.
to make
Yeah,
that
no, they
happen.
couldn't. Yeah, they couldn't do that, but it wouldn't shock me if they worked overtime to do that either.
For sure. For sure. Well, so at this point, it's been enough time talking about CG giving us anniversary rewards, If you want to know more, feel free. Their road ahead is available. Look into it. Again, don't get sucked into thinking that it's all of a sudden going to change your roster overnight. But what we really want to move on to is the gear changes. CG is finally moving into stage 2 of their gear changes. Anyone want to introduce this concept or this topic?
Yeah, so they are going to, I guess, what was it, about a year ago or so, they introduced phase 1 of their gear changes, which was, it was allowing a little bit more Kyrotech availability. They updated the daily challenges to include some of the more core gear and have updated the shops a little bit as well, so they rotate in a little bit more. Your Mark V stun guns, your Mark III Carbonis, stuff like that. The golden eyeballs. And so they had always talked about a phase 2, and they finally brought it in where there's going to be basically an accelerated farm rate for the for that core gear. Basically anything that is not G12 plus or Kairos. So what they're doing is they're going to be doubling the amount that you're going to find in the stores, doubling the drop rate, or doubling the amount you can get per drop when you're farming it on shard or on nodes. Raid rewards, mythic events, assault battles, they're all going to be increasing the amount of the all gear items below G12. So that it can help everybody else, the newer players catch up and get up to the G12 and Relic crunch faster.
All right. So, well, you gave the overview. Tell us your thoughts on it.
Overall, I'm pretty excited about it. It's always nice to get your tunes up to gear 12 faster. Now I've been able to get a decent horde of some of those specific gear pieces. So it's just going to be accelerating my gear 12 and relic crunch. But the biggest drawback that I see is in the with the scavenger. They are going to be anything that was accelerated. The value in the scavenger is going to be about halved. So anything that you have is about to lose half of its value.
I'm going to throw this question to Thol. So you're somebody in the game for a long time. A lot of those pieces you probably have a lot of. What are your opinions on this change?
Well, I really need to go in and figure out because of what was just mentioned about a lot of the things that you have a bunch of are going to go down to half value. But the one thing that at least I've noticed is it seems like a lot of these things that are going to go down to half value aren't really worth much to start with. Like some of these pieces that I've got thousands of, they're only worth like 2 when you go to trade them in. So I mean, if they go to 1, it's half the value, but I don't know that it's that. I wouldn't think that it's that big of a deal, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it's at. But I mean, the other thing too is a lot of people that are at the higher GP levels. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of stuff anymore because I've traded it all in. I've got some things that I've got a lot of, but there aren't really like just tens of thousands of one particular gear that I have because I'm constantly I mean the crunch is just as much for me for carbonite circuit boards as it is probably for anybody else because of the number of relic tunes that I have. So
No, I completely understand that. That's actually a question that came through our earlier ask from our alliance members what they want to know. And there's so many people that ask the same question. I'm not going to mention you all, but I appreciate you asking it. We really need to talk about how these gear changes are going to affect salvage and our decisions on our rosters, especially relics and such, moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I have my plan. I think, like, I do think the question is, like, how much should you salvage? I feel like it's not should you, it's like, how far down do you go?
Yes.
Personally, like, the way I'm looking at it is I feel like this change will go live sometime. We are expecting middle of December. I'd recommend hoarding credits until, like, we get close. Figure out the next 4 or 5 tunes you want to kind of gear up, bring those up to at least like gear 8, kind of use up all those small pieces. Like once you get them to gear 8, it'll go pretty slow from there. And then just sell everything, all those like random pieces down to 50 or 100, even lower if you want. Just get rid of everything and start fresh. You'll build them up fast. Like they will come so fast now that I really think it's in your best interest to really like go to this like scavenger and just sell almost everything that isn't a core piece that you will like run out of.
Lab, what's your tactic?
Pretty much the same thing as what me just outlined. I went in the day after the announcement and I sold down half to 2/3 of the core gear not core gear, the low end gear, the stuff that's that we regularly salvage for scrap. So I went ahead and thinned it out just in case CG got trigger happy for some strange reason. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to make sure that I've put all of my characters that I want to gear in the next month up to about gear 8 or gear 9. And then I'm just going to sell down to like maybe 50 of each piece just so I have a tiny cushion. But yeah, might as well get the value out of it before it gets halved.
Yeah, no, I agree. Chameleon?
Yeah.
I went in this morning and I basically emptied whatever little bit of gear I had left into everything I could, so I can at least build up some relic savage mount.
Brax?
Yeah, I think like Lab saying 50 is probably a good like buffer number, especially like anything. I always kind of consider anything that's like purple. I usually try to keep like at least 50 of, but like all, anything with the green or like the light blue, any of that stuff, like those, like just you can take those all the way down because you'll get them. You already get them so fast, but when they increase the drop rates too, like you'll build that stash back up real quickly, I believe.
So I'm a little nervous on this. So I agree with a lot of the comments that are made, but there's some Gear 12 pieces that I have kind of built up for building Gear 13 that I have sitting around. I'm going to be a little more conservative with those, but I'm kind of with you all. I'm probably going to build this, sell off everything on both accounts to a Gear 12 level, to where I have about one piece left over. But I'm going to try to solidify that piece. To your point, that way I can maximize what I have moving forward. I recommend that to everyone, whether you're new, old. You don't want to see your current your current Gear 12 pieces and below all of a sudden uh, decrease in value. So I'm going to be hitting that scavenger really hard over the next couple weeks and making sure I maximize what I get out of my current, and then basically starting over and hoarding because I am a hoarder.
The one thing I thought was interesting, um, because I always think CG is going to try to make as much money as they can, is that it says when all of this goes live that the hyper drive bundle will actually permanently be like 50% off. What we see as 50% off now, but it'll permanently only be $50 versus the $100 it has always been. That sort of surprised me.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because by making these changes, it dropped the value of that by effectively half.
True.
And I think you're
Oh.
also probably going to see more people willing to spend $50 than justifying spending a full 100.
Yeah. I agree, but just in true CG fashion, I would think, like, if they think they can get $100 out of it, why would they drop the price? Like, I just know how they operate after 7 years.
I
Well,
think I'm
and-
just oh
The Hyperdrive
Go-
Bundle 2.0.
Yeah, true.
I'm just surprised that I wouldn't be surprised if they like re-release it that everyone can buy it one more time too. I feel like I'm waiting for that to like suck another $50 out of everybody.
I would buy it again.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the only
was-
major
I
purchase
bought it
I've
at
ever
half off,
made.
and it was
Yeah.
it was great.
I'm going to buy it for my second account once it goes to 50% off. Just because it's worth it. It's one of the best buys in the game. If you're going to spend money, the Hyperdrive bundle is the way to go.
And just like circle back because I know I asked like Dole, but his account is 10 million, so this isn't gonna really like affect where he's going. But as like a smaller account, this change is huge. Getting to gear 12 is a huge roadblock for all. Like right now, I have gear 13 for my next 5 tunes, and I'm just waiting on eyeballs. That is my current. I am just waiting for Carbontes and eyeballs. That's all I need for like my profundity farms. This is like a really big, like getting double rewards for all of these pieces from all these different places. Well, I think the other thing is stop spending any currency, shard currency, guild currency, anything where you're buying these pieces. We should be you should be hoarding right now. But like for my account, I'm really looking forward to these changes. And like I think I was looking at my next kind of like 5 or 6 months farms. It's like I need 4,000 Carbontes. This is going to make that so much less painful. I don't know. I'm really like this is a big deal for me.
No, it's I think a big deal even for larger level accounts, and I'll allow Dole to talk about this. But I'm sitting on in my accounts somewhere around 1,000. I think I have around no, I have 685 Carbonis sitting around. And it's just because I don't want to spend them unless it's a tune that's absolutely priority, something that I need to have done, right? To know that I could easily farm up for my next tune to get it to that gear 12 and start pushing to the relics, which is where I'm really investing in. I'm actually happier about it. I think even for legacy players, we're kind of okay with this move. Dole?
Well, I may have underestimated a little bit earlier when I was talking about how much gear I had, because I'm just sitting here while you guys are talking and mashing buttons, and I'm about ready to trade in to get 2,600 bronzium wiring. So,
Yes.
it's like, yeah, there's more of it sitting there than I realized. And yeah, I mean, it's a big deal for everybody. I mean, even on the upper end of the deal, I mean, getting someone to gear 12 obviously probably is not as difficult for me as it is for a lower level player, but it's still a big deal. So
Well, so Thol, let's be honest. We were trained into hoarding Carbonis.
oh yeah, absolutely, and hoarding everything. I mean, to be
Yes.
honest.
So to Mead's point there, where he was talking about how we use currencies and stuff like that, we want to touch on a question that was asked in the community questions. Daddy Dino asked where will crystals get you the biggest bang for your buck? So in thinking of what's coming up and everything, like where are crystals going to be best spent?
So, I mean, CGE has a couple of large crystal drains that they have implemented into the game that prevent a smart and disciplined player from pouring crystals into really anything except for refreshes and those large sinks. So, but it also really depends on where your account is in the game, right? So if you're a 2 million GP player, then your crystals need to go towards refreshes on energy, and any quote unquote extra crystals that you have need to be banked towards large events like Executor Unlock, like Profundity Unlock, like Conquest Tune Refresh. Those are the three big crystal sinks that almost everybody has to go into. Now, if you're more close to the top of the meta and you've got most of the shiny things, then that's when the question becomes maybe a little bit more interesting. I think a lot of people just choose to spend those extra crystals on relevant character shards to unlock the newest GL or important team like Inquisitors, for instance. So I think those are your two main things. But no matter whether you're kind of an early game player or you're a veteran player, you have to portion out and budget the majority of your crystals towards energy refreshes, or you're not being efficient.
I can echo that statement. I mean, especially mod energy is a big one right now. I mean, you can definitely up your mod score very quickly with doing 3 refreshes in there every day. I highly, highly, highly suggest everyone does that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and if you're more competitive near the top, you can also put 100, like 3 refreshes a day for 2 weeks of a month into Conquest just for Datacrons.
Yep.
Is the
Yeah.
next, like, I would say, like, the way I spend my crystals outside of Profundity Executor, there's a couple places where I will spend. And these new changes are making me think more. There's the 50/50 Chirotech that comes out, right? It's 25 or 50 pieces for like the cost of 25. There's the what is it? It's the Separatist Assault Battles that drop all the health mods that comes out. That Assault Battle's coming out. I will normally drop 1,000 crystals a month into that, because if you're maxing out your mod refreshes, that's a good deal and gets you quite a bit of shard currency as well. And some of the relic material gamble boxes that come out have pretty good value as well. I do like the Zimbiddle last time. Is kind of like, these are like the other places I'm spending my crystals, and the Carbonite circuit board one, I'll drop a couple purchases into.
So I think
I
I'm
think-
the. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're
I think
right.
I think I'm one of the few people on this podcast that exists within a up and coming guild, a newer guild. I would recommend to my players within Jeddah. Obviously, the energy refreshes are the first place to go to. Just continue to focus those teams that you're trying to build up. to make a difference and contribute across the board. That's the best bang for the dollar. And I don't know if this changed it a whole lot. Like I used to recommend that, say MK3 hollow discs were always a good buy at 300 crystals. They're going to remain that way because now you're going to get twice as much. So the investment that you would spend in trying to farm them through energy versus just spending the 300 crystals to buy them is going to remain the same. So I'd still say go for that. That gets you an easy Relic 5. I don't think that changes. A lot of the old recommendations that we threw down won't change. I think what will happen is it's going to allow a lot of new players to more quickly upgrade their teams to get to that relic crunch. Where the meta should be forcing people to grind at. I'm hoping the grind across the board sort of slows down for those early mid game players that are trying to develop their rosters. A lot of silence.
I think the points have been made. I mean, energy, specific items of gear that are good value, and then relic materials. Those are the three basically.
Do you guys buy any? Do you guys buy that carbonite circuit board pack when it comes out? Is that something you guys? Because I feel like a bunch of us in Endor buy that. Obviously, if you're sitting on 3,000 bronziums or whatever you are, though, like you might not need to worry about it, but that's kind of a way. Like those are what we're running out of on relic materials, like for relics. So we buy that pack quite a bit.
Yeah, no, that's starting to become a real problem for myself. But again, most of us are playing in late game environments where we're not farming nodes, where maybe that material comes more cleanly to us. It's a real struggle to give advice to new game players versus our experience.
It's definitely a different world.
Yeah.
Like Cantina, is that where you guys spend crystals daily on refreshes?
I mean, I do I do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Cantina will be the first one where I don't do all 3 refreshes. If I'm trying to hoard on a time frame. If I need to get the R9 mats for Radis for Profundity, since Mortis just hit 300 million. We haven't had a TW at that level yet. So I had to buy those with crystals, and then I tend to buy the impulse detectors with crystals as well. So if I'm not hoarding for those at the moment, I'll buy those packs when they come around.
I've bought the carbonite circuit board pack maybe twice with crystals. And it was more like when I was in the 3 to 5 GL range. But because CG slowed down their GL cadence just a little bit this year, I've had enough. I haven't had to buy that again.
Yeah.
But I've been playing longer than the majority of you guys in Indoor. So I think really it comes down to how much of that relic scrap you had when they initially made the relic changes. Because if you were a fairly new player when they introduced relics, then you started scrapping almost immediately. But you didn't have those extra years to really build up your supply. I think I'm at a fairly net zero gain income right now, where I farm just enough without having to put extra effort into it, where I can scrap enough to upgrade what I need. But that's because I don't really spend money on gear to accelerate that that growth at all. If you're spending money on shards and gear and you're getting teams more quickly than you would organically, then that's especially when you start running out of those relic scraps. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about speeding up your farms, so that you're going to end up having to speed up more than just meet CI.
For sure. So, I'm up there with Thole, who is at 10 million, and I'm sitting at 7.3. So you can kind of get an idea. We started about the same time. I have been receiving effectively most of the daily. I don't know where Thole is at, but I can tell you I'm almost out of all scrap, and I've got 4 going on 5 GLs. It will go away quickly. So, you have to be smart about how you utilize all that. Where are you at, Thole?
As far as relic scrap, you mean?
Yes.
So I put a screenshot on Discord. I don't know if I think Lab saw it, but yeah, I just cashed in a bunch that I didn't even realize I had, because it's just sitting around doing nothing. And just trying to find a tune where I can go in and actually look and see. Oh, just go to the scavenger. Duh. So right now I have 1,500 carbonite circuit boards, 2,800 bronzium wiring, 3,900 chromium transistors, and 600
I hate
rhodium heat sinks.
I really hate you right now.
Yeah, I hate you too.
All right. So,
and I
Brax,
still have thousands sitting there waiting to be changed into something. I mean, it's just crazy.
all right.
So
All right.
while this conversation was going on, I was just scavenging for some bronzium wiring, and I'm about to convert to about 7,900.
God. I'm disliking you all right now. All right, so Brax, where are you at in the whole scavenging conversation?
See, I'm not that big of a hoarder. So, I mean, so like carbonite circuit boards, which for some reason I feel like I need often, but like I only have like 168 right now, but I have a lot of gear that I could probably scavenge to get that. Like 1,059 or 58 bronze wiring, 22 chromium transistors, 51 heat sinks, 54 conductors. So I'm not a big hoarder, obviously.
All right, Chameleon.
I am completely broke on everything relic wise right now. After unlocking Jabba and everything else, so I will be spending some crystals on the carbonate boards when they come around.
Good for you. Doing it right. Spend it every
CG
day.
loves you for that.
Yeah.
I mean, what else am I gonna? It's 500 crystals every other week or so. It's not crazy.
No, I think it's a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what we're kind of talking about there. We have the Tholes of the world that are the haves, right? And then those that are the have-nots. And we need to really look as we're going over the next, because I think we have about 2, maybe 3 weeks to make a decision on how we're going to handle this change in currency with gear. I think it's a good change, by the way. I think it's the right move, and I'm glad CG gave us a big enough leeway to make the decisions that are important to our rosters. But I think this is the time they're trying to make us get rid of our hoarding tendencies with gear. And that's my recommendation to all the guild. Unfortunately, you need to get rid of your guild hoarding, maximize your relic potential, and then we're going to start anew. Does anyone agree with that or disagree with that concept?
No.
Nope.
Yeah.
Though it is nice, I don't know if we've mentioned it yet, but it is nice that at least when you're taking someone to R8 and R9 now, you don't have to worry about the carbonite circuit boards and the bronzium wiring.
Yeah. It's ultimately a bone that I think CG should have thrown out a year ago. This was probably very much something that CG is slow on changes like this, but I think it's one that's going to be good for the game total. I don't. Actually, I'm going to run down the list. We're going to start with Thole. Do you think these gear changes are healthy for the game?
Absolutely, because the way that this game, I mean, let's be honest, what are relic levels really? They're just more gear levels. You know, we're not adding more gear levels, but we are adding more gear levels. So let's just call it like it is. And relics are just more gear. And so any way that you can get the gear up faster on any tune is going to obviously be helpful for anybody. So, so yeah, I think it's good for the game.
All right, Lab.
Yeah, these were the minimum changes that CG had to do. They typically do this with big updates / new content releases. So it's not surprising that this is coming along with both of those. And if you notice, they did not double the amount of certain bottleneck gear pieces like the eyeballs and like the carbantes, because they still want you to have things to spend your guild currency on. They want to make sure that you still have to grind away, just it's a little bit lessened. You don't have to quite put as much attention into these other, lower pieces. You'll pretty much just have them, and it'll help you get there a little bit faster so that you can engage with datacrons, because that's what they want you to do.
Fair enough. I'm going to now go to Chameleon.
I think it's a really healthy change, especially for people who are just building up some core teams. It's going to help them at least progress those faster. For folks like Thole, myself, who are towards the upper end, it's good when new teams come out or new characters come out, so at least we can kind of get them to where it gets to the bottleneck with the cryos and all that. But I think it's a net positive change.
R2DQ.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a good move for the future of the game. Get these lower level accounts up and running faster so they can start reaching in game stuff sooner. I think it's overall good for the people who are currently playing and anyone who's going to be signing up anytime soon. So they're not, they're never going to be able to compete with existing guilds, but they can, at least engage with the content.
Meet you later.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. Like it was kind of mentioned, it could have been better, but this is, I think, a good step for the game.
Right.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those times where most people think CG's finally listening a little bit to us, because for quite a while we've been saying the gear crunch. It's like something needs to give there. The bottlenecks, and Lab touched on it. You're still going to have certain bottlenecks, but I can remember like from gear 9 to 12 was just brutal at times, and that's slowly becoming less and less. And so it feels like, I mean, I think we can always say, I wish it were more, I wish they're giving more, but I think it's, it's definitely the right step. And it's, yeah, I think it's going to be good for upcoming players, as well as to the points made there is that when we have new content coming in, getting them up and running is not going to be so expensive gear wise.
So I will say before we throw it to the next conversation, which is going to be an interesting one, I think this is a move that they are very late in making. Um, the reality is, Gear 10 should never have been a problem. Gear 12, if CG wants to make money, shouldn't be a problem. And so I think that's what they're doing. Uh, they're making getting to Gear 12 for newer players easier and quicker. For those of us that are hoarding gear, they're going to get us to spend it. Why? Because, well, it's the one time we have an opportunity to get the maximum value. And so we're going to spend it because we're all smart enough for that. And then it wouldn't shock me if we see a new scenario rolling. But I would recommend for this is a good thing for everyone all around. I think this is one of the better changes CG has done. I'm sorry, they have put me on point to expect the rug pulled out from under us, and I tend to be the optimistic person, as we're going to find out as we move into the next conversation, which is the announcement with a little more degrees of a new TB. All right. So I'm sure everyone in this conversation has read over the new TB that's about to be dropped on us somewhere in December. We're guessing mid-December, slightly before Christmas. Weird release date, but what does anyone want to start the conversation on the information they dropped about the new TB?
I guess I could. So, being the TB lead for Mandalore for Thol, when did you kind of force me to do this?
Oh,
I convinced you. Come on.
oh, come on.
Do it or you're booted.
That's
Yeah,
basically
right.
what it was. I'm beyond excited for it. Mandalore has done the 33 stars in Darkside Geo a long time ago. We were 32 stars, close to 33 stars in Lightside, and it's kind of become stale content to us. I find myself, Darkside Geo just kind of autoing it, and then with Lightside Geo, it's like, all right, it kind of feels like a forcing to do it. So this is now like super exciting to me. We all get to learn together. I put out a short manifesto today on the plans, and then really looking forward to working with the officer corps on prepping for this.
All right, so you drop the conversation down. Explain to us what it is.
So ultimately, Mandalore will be switching full time to the new TB for both TBs every month. And just kind of outlining that like everything's down to 24 hours instead of the 36 hours, which is a huge change. I know myself, I can get a little bit lazy sometimes in Darkside Geo and not rushing to get things done. So it's going to be a huge change. And I did recommend to the entire guild to save one full Omicron for TB. I'm not a fan of TB Omicrons, but I feel like one might be needed. Just not sure what yet.
Can you give us any idea of the format that's running down?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Can you give us an idea of the format of the new TB, how it's going to be operated, the basic fundamentals that they've announced to this point?
Sure. So there's no limit on what team comp you use. So you can use a dark side team with a light side characters, and or light side. So like Hot Cartel, for instance, which does use 2 light side characters on the team, you can actually use a full Jabba team without having to worry about, oh, it's a dark side TB, I can't use it all. From what I'm reading, and I've only briefly skimmed everything because I was stuck with a big work project this week. There's going to be planetary based modifiers, kind of like how there is in Conquest / Galactic Challenges. So I'm interested to see how those pan out in a TB level. And that's the 2 biggest things that stuck out to me so far, and that there's the 3 different paths: dark side, light side, and neutral, and there'll be respective bonuses for hero units in each group. And I'm sorry that was a lot to digest at once, but there is a lot to this mode so far.
Yes, and they haven't given us full information yet. Anyone else want to dive in on this new game mode that we're about to experience?
I can kind of give like Endor's perspective. So Endor is definitely a step 1 or 2 step down from Mandalore. So we're 390. So when they were recommending this, they were saying, well, like high, like close to max stars dark side, and then they said 20 stars light side. So we're like 28 stars light side. So we'll also be looking to move to doing it twice a month. They're definitely like the hero units. So when we were kind of going through, like for Endor, we were just trying to kind of predict what teams we would be using. I guess that was kind of the other, like what teams really look like we can start expecting. Based on the hero units, again, things can change. We'll start seeing maybe certain battles only require from certain factions. We're not entirely sure yet, but it really looks like Rogue One, Jabba, the Dr. Aphra squad, and Inquisitors and Lord Vader are gonna kind of be the big tunes. Like those are the teams that we're gonna be needing for this new TB. Yeah, that's definitely where Endor's conversations were. We're trying to line up what farms we should be looking at going forward, and like people are starting to ask like what should we be looking at, which is pretty good because Profundity, Java, and Inquisitors are kind of what everyone's working on anyways.
Yeah, so they definitely put out very heavily. If you're close to finishing Dark Side GOTB, meaning you're in the high 20s, 28 stars, or if you're over 22 stars, I think they set for
Just 20.
light, just 20, yeah.
Mhm.
Light side TB, GOTB, then you will get better rewards through the new TB that they're dropping out. It's going to be one that you can either opt in or opt out, but you're going to be able to play this particular TB twice a month if you believe that's the best results that you're going to get. They've announced the specific tunes that you're going to need, which I feel need for these events, which I feel like they're going to be if you look back onto our current TBs, those special events where you can earn some extra currency. That's probably where they're going to be mostly targeted at. That's my personal idea. But there's also going to be some new tunes that could be earned from this, which is going to be very much like the how we've been IPD. Were
Rolo.
all, yeah, exactly. Those sort of tunes. There's going to be some new challenges. They did keep platoons in place, which I think I said a couple episodes I was not a fan of. I was hoping they would get rid of the platoon concept, but they're keeping that in place. And so it's interesting what they're throwing down. So we'll see what happens. I think Lab is really ready to throw down at some comments here.
Oh, sure. So we needed some new content. CG is giving us new content. I am especially interested to see what the rewards are going to be. Obviously, I'm sure a majority of players who are going to be in a guild that's able to do this TV here in the near future or immediately, I think that's probably their number one concern, as well as what is the level of difficulty. I remember I'm old enough to remember when they released Lightside GeoTB and everybody thought they had made a mistake because it was so hard on phase 1 and people were crying and weeping and wailing. Reddit was on fire and whole Discord channels were on fire and guilds were collapsing because CG was crazy and they must have just overtuned this. And what in the world is this? It can't be fun. And here we are, 2 years later, I guess, and guilds at Mandalore level and even like at Indoor level, I think most of us pretty much have it on autopilot by now. Like we know what teams we're going to use, we know what enemies we're going to face. Sometimes we get crazy bad RNG, but I know at least in Mandalore we have a whole page of people doing 70 plus waves in Lightside territory battle. So it's been solved. We're ready for the next challenge, and I think CG is going to be going in dry with this one. So prepare yourselves. Prepare to fail a lot. Prepare to have to remod a lot. But it's new content. New content is exciting, and I have no doubt that in addition to Riva, I think there will be some other nice carrots that they throw in there for us to chase, and I'm excited to see what they are.
And one thing to just add is the Mandalore officers were probably going to get together and stream the CMs with each other first to kind of test run it and maybe like record it out for the rest of the guild to send out to show what it's like before anyone attempts it.
Yeah, so basically the plan is going to be Chameleon and Primus are going to do their streams. We're going to see what not to do. Then I'm going to run my streams. That's going to be the video that we use to tell the guild, yes, this is what you should do.
Yeah. So fair enough.
Naturally.
Please dump that information down to those of us that are probably going to challenge it that are not necessarily at your level. I can tell you that Mustafar meets most of the requirements for what CG is throwing out there. But we would love to have some hints from those of you that have better overall squads than we do. We're kind of on the borderline of what CG threw down in the first place.
I think for lower guilds below Mandalore, I think you're going to want more than anything, you're going to be able to see which teams you need to build up to be successful.
Yeah, because Mortis is. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to shut this down a little bit. Everyone's trying to talk at once. Let's go with R2DQ. I think I'm seeing him wanting to talk.
Yeah, so it's asking for close to max star in dark side geo and 20 stars in light side, and right now Mortis is pulling 30 stars in Dark Side and 19 in Light Side Geo. So we're right at that level where they're saying, hey, you might be able to get better rewards. But I also, it's tough to abandon the things that we know when we're going to go in so unprepared. So we're probably going to give it at least one TB, if not two, before we decide to jump in there, so we can watch all these videos of the other guilds, the Mandalores, the Indoors, learn from them, so that we can at least have some success.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
You'll have a better idea of the rewards too by that, like at that point, which will let you like make a much more informed decision on if it's actually worth it for you guys.
Now we're definitely going to at least attempt it, just for no other reason than morbid curiosity. But
Yeah.
whether it becomes a staple in the first couple months that it's out, we might do LSGO and during the Dark Side Geo do the new one, but got to see how it looks first.
I think
Definitely
it's a good
excited to
idea.
try it out though.
I think it's a good
Yeah,
idea for guilds like that to give it a try because you're really going to show your guys like this is the future. This is where we're going, and to kind of have everyone get their ass kicked for a week, and then when you tell them these are the teams we need to farm, they'll kind of have a better idea of why you're telling them to do that and where like they can actually see why it's important. Hopefully.
Yeah, that was going to be the point I was going to bring up, is that I think, we know for guilds like Mandalore that this is going to be a no-brainer that you're going to dive right into it. But those that are kind of in that in between where you're really not sure, you might split that and do light side geo and then do the new one instead. And really get a feel of like what you're going to need to do. And I think in some of our pre-conversation there, we were talking about, what about these guilds that are still working on cam shards? So, maybe you're still able to get your cam shards plus dive into the new content a little bit there as well.
So my annoyance with the launch of this is it looks like it's going to happen in the latter half of December, which means it's crossing over onto what for many cultures is a holiday season where you typically see effort. I won't say go away, but not necessarily what you see. So I am concerned about that, but I think um, in the case of Mustafar, we're gonna probably go into it knowing that it's just gonna be a fun session. Uh, we're just going to, hey, everyone, have fun. Let's experiment on this and not worry too much about the results just because of the part of the season and the time period that the year is in.
Yeah, I think when this has been released, CG gave us a lot of information, but still there's a lot of important nuggets that are missing from it. So we're still very speculative of how things are going to play out. And to the point that Lab was making there is like, how difficult is this actually going to be? And, we talked about how it's gone down from 4 waves to 2 waves. So is it going to be like 2 waves of what we see in a normal light side geo battle? Or is it going to be like 2 waves like the Dooku mission, which they're like 2 very hard waves? Like, those are the kind of questions I guess we have to like think about.
They're
I
gonna make the
bet.
Dooku mission look really easy.
Yes, correct. We're going to be wishing for the Dooku mission.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you're
you
gonna
can.
be. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say you can pretty much guarantee that even Han is not going to go first in this battle.
Okay, so let's start talking about how Road Ahead warned us of what teams, tunes, and so on that we need moving forward if we want to be successful, whether it be special missions or the traditional modes forward, and what we think of those teams.
Like I kind of brought it up earlier, but like when you look at the special units, you have Rogue One, right? So we call them out. So light side, this kind of the hero units, Jin Urso, K2SO, right? So there's your Rogue One. You got Old Ben, you got Bodhi, Rook, right? So no one has Bodhi. He is by far one of the most under geared characters in the game. So you got 3 Rogue Ones. You like that's your profundity is gonna at least like send you along that path. Your mixed zone, you got Jabba, Hondo, Dr. Aphra, Kira, and then Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum. And then for Dark Side, it's Grand Inquisitor, Second Inquisitor, Reva, Lord Vader, Krennic, and Gar Saxon. This is probably a very good blueprint to the teams you're gonna need.
And even below, they list the special characters. They flat out say, "We highly recommend you get your Jabba the Hutt, Inquisitors, Scythe, and Dr. Aphra geared up and ready to go for this event, as they'll be required for certain missions within the TB."
Sure.
The special missions I can like pass more on, but like the bonuses, like if these are the teams that are going to be getting consistent 2 out of 2, like at least to start, that's kind of like I think a good place to start directing some farms. Until we see what those special missions are, it's harder to worry specifically about those special tunes.
So back to the community questions. So Rubarian asked the question, who do I farm, Jabba or Inquisitors?
Yes.
Yes.
That's just
Coin, farm one, do the other one next.
A Jabba.
Yeah.
I would be more inclined to say Jabba over
Well,
if you had to choose one or the other, I would probably push more towards Jabba because he has a lot of characters that are great that are his requirements. So
is it the point that you need Inquisitors to get Jabba?
You do not.
Oh, okay.
yeah, there's no requirements that are Inquisitors for it.
Jabba.
Okay.
Yeah, the mod slicing event, the Smuggler's Run 2 alone is a reason to do Jabba over Inquisitors, and that's not counting the fact that he's a GL.
So another question and Thunder Bunny asked this, why will Bodhi be the best hero unit for TV, for the new TV?
Because only 135 people have him at Relic.
I'm really hoping that he's another like General Kenobi Cody type mission, and he's not a Shock T 501st Cam type mission. Because
I almost wonder if he's going to be I almost wonder if he's going to get his own ship and he's going to be a pilot. Which surprise, he's really a pilot.
Yeah, I'd also see a kit like his kit. Like I honestly have no idea what his kit does, so maybe it's decent. But they have done this where they've kind of like called these tunes out, even with the Jabba, right? Like some of these guys got maybe now that we know Bodhi is going to be good, he might get a little like another ability or something unique or something before this all starts.
So I am a ridiculous player that has K2SO at Gear 12, Bodhi, relatively high level. I'm kind of sort of hoping that this makes my investment worth it. I did it back in the day when I got the free K2SO. I don't know if many players know of this specific moment. Samsung or Android actually paid for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes players to get a free K2SO at 7-star, and I was an idiot that invested in him at the time. And so hopefully that investment will pay off at some point in time.
I mean, it'll pay off as soon as you get profundity.
Yes.
Yeah.
God.
Remember that CG can force us to gear whoever they want with this TB. Like, if they make Bodhi Rook important enough, if they make the carrot big enough, then we will all gear him. So it's really in CG's court, like whether they really, really want us to do it, or if it's just like, hey, you do this for a nice bonus, but you don't technically have to.
So in the mixed zone there, Meaningless, he asked the question in the community questions is where does Hondo belong other than memes that we have out there?
Dr. Afra, right? Doesn't he go with that team?
Does he? Do we know that?
Well, he's a requirement for her.
Yes.
So
We
but I
don't know
if
for
he gets
sure.
with her.
The thought that I've seen is that he's going to be like he's going to be able, like, the Afra team is going to be built around his requirements. That's not for sure by any means, but I've seen that theory been floated around a lot. So hopefully it's a pretty self-contained farm.
Right. Well, and then the question was also asked, like, what other characters could flesh out to be with Hondo? So, like, is Obi-Wan going to go with them, or Ezra, or somebody like that?
Yeah, until we see Avra's kit, we just have no idea. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it all ended up as one team, but we really need to see Avra's kit before we know.
There's so few people with Hondo at Relics right now that, I mean, honestly, I haven't even gone looking for Hondo specific content because, frankly, he hasn't impacted a single one of my battles either in GAC or TW yet. Looking at his kit, he looks like he'll be important for something. He looks like he's a Thrawn-esque character.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be more important in GAC if you want to put the Omicron on him. I think that's a very strong Omicron, but that's just the general sense that I get just reading his kit. I don't have any insight in terms of like, oh, he helps this team counter that. He's too new. There's too few people that have him. I'm sure people are still testing him now. And I'm sure that once Dr. Afra gets rolling and people get excited and he gets put on the table, then we'll start seeing more of Hondo. But right now, I don't think anybody in this group has a good answer for what Hondo does.
I went up against one time in GAC last bracket, and I can't remember the exact comp that he was in, but I'm pretty sure I used like JKR, GMY, and Jolie on it and didn't have a problem with it. But I do remember like him doing stuff to my tunes, and I'm like, how come I can't do this? Well, it's because he's got his freaking locked debuff on me. Oh, okay. So for what that's worth, which is absolutely meaningless. So
There seems to be a lot of questions about what the TB Omicrons are going to become. Like, are they going to become more desirable?
Okay, so that's an actual question coming from Thigh 57. Do y'all think TB Omicrons will become more desirable by higher end guilds for this new TBN rewards? Like, are we going to start prioritizing TB Omnicrons to get the rewards from this specific mission?
Yes.
I'll take
Yes.
a stab at it from Mandalore. Yeah, we are. I asked everyone to bank one just in case. I'm pretty certain we're gonna at least put one or two on for TB going forward, um, at minimum.
What is your thoughts on wait? Like, what is your plan here? Because this is, I think my plan with Omicrons has always been wait, right? Like, let someone else get it. Let someone else right? Like, I
Be the
want
guinea
to see it
pig.
work. I want to see what it can actually like. Are you guys looking to go fairly soon? Like, the odds of them putting out more TB Omicrons in the next 3 to 4 months is probably pretty high, right? Like, once this comes out, I could imagine some more hitting other tunes. So, are you guys looking to go quick? What's your kind of thoughts there, Cam?
Um, I'm not putting any on myself until I get more info about the TB.
Right.
And I can kind of see what the platoons are first, so I don't put something on
For
that I
sure.
already platooning. And two, like really, I think maybe the first one we do, I'm not gonna put any Omicrons on and see how it goes, and then see like, okay, yeah, this Omicron X might be really really helpful, so let me put that on for next one.
Yeah.
The other thing too is we've got some players in our guild. I mean, we don't require anybody to do anything specific in our guild. I mean, Lab likes to try to require people to do stuff, but they don't really listen to him. And so
That's what you
there
say.
will be there will be some people, I guarantee it, that have in our guild have TB Omicrons on some of their tunes, probably even already. And so we can ferret those people out and have them do some testing for us.
And embarrass them.
Um,
I mean,
yes. But I guarantee you there's some people. There was somebody put on Omicron on the other day, and we were like, I could think of about 13 other Omicrons to do before that one, but okay. So
I will admit that I do have the Rolo Omicron.
Same.
well, hopefully it pays off for you, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think this makes a lot more sense. And one of the things that like didn't make sense up to this was that like the content was all very much figured out. Any like Omicron you invest now in this new TB will likely be something you can use 2 times a month for like 1 to 2 years.
Yes.
So the value in it getting something early, like it should pay off in the long run versus like the Rolo Omicron, which had a shelf life. Like if it's not helpful in this new TB, it had a very short shelf life.
Yeah.
So my personal stance on what my threshold for Omicron usage is going to be is I'm definitely waiting and seeing for sure. But the thing that I'm mostly waiting and seeing on is what are the rewards like? Because again, CG can soft require us to do whatever they want. Like if they want us to put on 3 TB Omicrons minimum across competitive guilds, they can do that by putting a significant enough reward out there. So like if there's a Bodhi Rook special mission and you need to have the Jin Omicron to go with him to have a chance to get a Riva shard or whatever, then everybody's going to put that on. But if it's more like these TB Omicrons will help you be a little bit more consistent, but you can also still do it if you're willing to remod and you have good strategy, then I'm probably not doing those TB Omicrons. So it's just kind of like a spectrum of how much am I going to get for it. And we'll find out. That I'm definitely not going to apply anything until I see exactly what's going on in this new TB, and then I'll be able to kind of adjust and make a decision, and I'll figure out how many Omicrons I might have to spend, and then go from there.
All right, so let's start moving on to some other questions that have been thrown to us for this discussion. Give me a second. I'm kind of flowing through it. So obviously, moving to a new TB is putting more. This comes from, I believe, Malevolence, but I may be wrong. I might have deleted some information, but so this new TB will be putting more pressures on officers with the changes and with the 3 different factions. Officers will have to track a lot of new things. How do we plan on dealing with this extra pressure and the extra TB issues? I believe this is stuff that we've all dealt with before. It's I understand why people will get concerned how officers are overwhelmed how officers could be overwhelmed by new changes. But I think a lot of this discussion kind of indicates how we deal with it. We talk to each other and share ideas. But how do you guys deal with it?
One of the things that they talked about already is that they said that they're changing some of the mechanics and the tools that are available for officers in game, as far as being able to see who's done what, how many waves maybe like per phase or per mission, and but it sounds like it's going to be a lot more specific. We've already seen some of the changes, like there's different colors that are in game now when you click on the different missions to see like who got how many waves, and the different the points scored and all that are different colors. So there's a few more things that have already come into the GOTBs already, and I think there's going to be a lot more things in the menus that the officers can use to help figure things out.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about those announcements. I also run TB for Mustafar. I'm really excited for some extra tools. Again, I have hot tools, which gives me a lot of extra information that I don't get from the in game. But let's be honest, I'm not sitting on my laptop for 24 hours. It's much easier for me to access the game on my cell phone and see where we're at. And I actually use the current tools we have more than I use the external tools. So I'm excited to see some more internal tools added. Anyone else have some takes on this conversation?
I mean, I during TB, I am pretty much hyper focused on my phone when it's running.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much
You
gonna
know
be
what I'm
there.
talking about.
Yep. So for those 6 days, I will be hyper focused on that when I'm not in the middle of hosting meetings at work. So I'm very thankful to have, other officers that can definitely help me out a lot, especially Lab. He loves doing anything TB related. So I'm sure that he will be more than glad to be there.
Well, I think something to think about and is if going into this, if you feel like it's going to be a challenge, and so like if you're the TB officer and you're thinking like, man, this is going to be a lot to keep up on, like this would probably be the time, especially initially as we're getting a feel for it, to lean on those other officers. And so like, maybe you sign one officer to oversee light side and one to oversee mixed and one to oversee dark side. And you may not need to go to that level, but if you're afraid that it's gonna become overbearing, like maybe that's the route you go, where you kind of split up responsibility. I think probably all of us here are in a guild where you have officers that are capable and willing to help out when needed, and so it may be an opportunity to maybe some of those officers that aren't doing as much in TB as far as the management of it, you can help kind of pull them into it and utilize them a little bit to help you out and alleviate some of the stress.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm the TB officer in Mortis, and it's pretty easy these days to do it for DSGO. I mean,
Yes.
just it's pretty simple. But in LSGO, it's making sure that I'm checking in all the time and pinging once or twice a phase, like, hey, let's get these platoons in. We need them for the CMs. Reminding
where
people
you
to.
need where you need to put your your effort into. Yeah, it becomes a nightmare.
Yeah. So I will likely be recruiting at least one of my other officers to assist me on a more regular basis there. But as far as what guidance I'm going to give the guild, we're semi-competitive, so for the most part we've got people who like to push, but they're not gonna they're not taking the game as seriously, or always remodding. They're not doing it like the way that Mandalore or Indoor Scarif Ryloth does. So we'll probably, kind of like I said earlier, sit back and wait for the Mandalores to tell us what the super important squads are, and we won't probably require people to farm those, but we'll put together a little graphic and say, hey, if you want to have success, these are the farms you need.
I am coming at this TV with two different mindsets, like one as an officer and one as a player. The player is very, very excited. Me and Zoro kind of Zoro runs TB, I help him. Doing this 12 times a month, like having every phase has potential, like I would assume 3 different areas to deploy, plus ships. Like I don't know, like this is going to be a lot of work. It's the 24-hour window is going to, depending on if it is like a midnight refresh or a noon refresh for like I'm Eastern Standard Time, like I'm American Canadian Eastern Standard Time. Depending on when that the timer goes off, I feel like it's about to be a lot of pinging people, reminding them to get missions in and platoons and deploy, and chasing people to deploy 2 more times every single TB will probably get tiring faster.
Well, and you kind of touched on something there, and it was a question that Zoro actually asked in the community questions. But will ships and combat zones be combined together into one zone, or will they still have their own each separate zones?
If you look at the planet modifiers, it looks like they're going to be separate. Like in the light side, there's like on day 2 it's ships, and then like on the light and the dark side, day 3 it's ships, just based on the planet modifiers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's not for sure. Maybe we just do platoons for ships and we still have ground combat missions. I don't know, but it looks like they're kind of self-contained still. But who knows?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more information to come out that we need to see before we know everything.
Well, that opens up a big question. In our question asked, Thunder Bunny asked, what is the biggest unanswered question you have about the new TB mode?
What are the rewards?
What are the other units we're getting?
All right.
Yeah, those are the 2 I've got.
Where's Red 5, guys? Where's
come
Red 5?
on.
He's supposed to be there, right? Where is he?
And he's
He's
not
coming.
in any of the requirements. So,
Well, not yet.
well,
You gotta. It'll be like Cam. You gotta farm them first, and then you can use them in P6.
well, I mean, they specifically said they're still tweaking the TB, so there could potentially be other announcements thrown out there. Correct?
Oh yeah, there's gonna be at least one more unit they reveal. Probably. I wouldn't be surprised if each path has its own unit.
That's what I was just going to say. I bet each, light side, dark side, and mixed will have a specific tune or something that you tune or ship or something that you can earn.
I don't know if they should do it all at once though. Like maybe like the first path is Riva, for instance, and then a few months down the line, oh hey, down the light side path now we're doing red 5 to kind of keep people more engaged and let them do the other sides.
I mean, it'd be awful, but they would just every time they release a new, like when they do their like April, like that Bad Batch Inquisitors kind of like spring team, right? When that comes out, you just put a new tune to like that, like the newest team that comes out. You make that the requirement, and then everyone has to go get it.
So it would kind of rotate like Conquest does.
Well, no, I think once it comes out, it stays, but just don't
Okay.
release everything at once.
Well, I think in all of this, they have said that they're setting it up to where it will be able to continue to morph into something else and be able to be upgraded and changed. And it's not. I think they're intending it to not be like the TBs that we have now, where there's an end game to it, where it will evolve as it goes on.
What do
I
they
guess,
do
but
with
that's kind of
the characters they retired? Like, if we're pulling a character off a node before a guild gets there, is that going to be a get 3 type currency farm?
One would hope.
And will I be able to buy cam shards with get 3?
yes.
They should open that up. Come on. I mean, they have to unlock. We'll see. God, this is CG we're talking about.
I
Yeah,
will
so
say in K2 and K3, the number of people I fight that have a guild that is 350 to 400 million plus that does not have a 7-star cam, like I fight very few people in K2 and K3 that have cam at 7 stars.
Yeah. So when was the last time you fought a cam where you were intimidated by it?
I mean, every single 3v3 where I have to fight.
Well, okay, 3v3.
Well, it's 3v3 right now.
Yes, but let's be honest.
He's useful in 5s though with JML team.
Yeah.
No, he makes a difference for sure. I'm just saying 3v3 or Cam is not the end all be all of characters. Like he's annoying, but you can easily be a top level player without Cam.
I don't think you're going to be a top. Well, I think all top level players have him because they're in top level guilds.
Well, but what do we describe as top level?
So let me ask this question: which special character impacted your games more, Watt or Cam?
Lot.
What?
What?
lot.
Yeah.
You could survive without Cam.
Sure. I don't want to.
No, I get that. I'm with you. I really wish I had a 7-star cam right now. But I'm just saying you don't have to have a 7-star cam to be competitive.
But I do think that all I was trying to make as a point was that a lot of the players in the guilds that are like very clearly going to be doing this 2 times a month
Yeah.
don't already have him, so they need to be doing something.
Agreed.
All right, so I'm going to start rolling down some questions that we haven't answered yet. Some of these may be fun, some of these may be out of the way. We'll see. Let's start with I'm sorry, I'm kind of scrolling through trying to remember which one I wanted to throw first. All right, so in this new TB, which planet from the list that they put out there are you most excited to play on?
Mustafar, of course.
Well, yeah, for me, it's Mustafar. I mean, come on. That's our planet. Anyone else have some opinions? By the way, that was sent from Zorro.
Yeah, Death Star.
I'm gonna
Okay.
go with Genosis.
You guys
Never
aren't
played that
excited to play
before.
on the medical frigate or whatever that
No.
I think Death Star will be cool.
Yeah. The fleet battle, right?
What if it was a raid of some sort?
Oh,
What
come on
if a
now.
certain letter or what if a certain color and numbered reward was given?
Hey, I didn't even look. Is there a
Mhm.
red? Is the R's all red in this post? I didn't see
Who-
any kind of trolling through this whole thing.
Who knows? I didn't look.
Yeah.
It was from Crumb, so I don't think so.
Oh, he's a respectable guy.
Yeah, it's only when Meatwad posts.
Yeah. Crumb doesn't have the years of experience.
That's right.
All right, so this is going to be actually a serious question. Asked from Scurvy Smith. Has nothing to do with the conversation that we've been talking about tonight, but it is really one that we've skirted around in past Senate roundups. He asks, unless your guild is getting R9 mats from TW, there is really no drive for guilds to push hard for TW wins. Do you see them ever moving crystals from fleets to TW, much like they move from squads to GAC?
They better not.
Yeah,
They would
I'm
have
with
to
you.
redo how TW works.
So,
Sometimes that-
I don't want crystals in TW. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. Yeah, I got my 400 nice and easy like earlier tonight. That was fine.
Yeah, exactly. You got, and I'm telling you, like the higher GP you go, the worse this idea sounds.
Yeah. Endor just entered the top bracket within the last month. And let's say like our win streak ended very quickly.
But keep in mind that we're saying this like first world problems. Like if you're in a guild that doesn't earn our 9 mats, do you want to push there?
I was surprised by like, you know what, it had been a long time since I'd looked at TW from a 200 million GP kind of perspective. And when he showed, we were talking about this in the discussions, and the difference between winning and losing a TW at that like phase of the game is it's pretty minimal. Like it's a couple Zetas, which are important, but like it's 2 Zeta mats. Yeah,
and
it's there needs to be a greater incentive for players at that level. I would think. I don't want it to be our crystals. I don't like
No.
there.
Yeah.
It should be something, not crystals. Make it
and not
Omicrons or something, or
something that isn't a hard gate to accessing top level. I don't even know if Omnicrons is the thing. Maybe that's a gear. I don't know, but I don't think any of us that are playing at the 300 mil plus level want to see it being a gear gate in TW because it's such a grind as it is. I have a ton of fun in Jeddah where we play at a lower level. And again, if you even look at the gear rewards there, it's not as much, but it's a much more fun experience. I don't know. Yeah. So
I would imagine if they make a change, it would probably coincide with the Relic 10 to where the R9 match would get shifted down to guilds that weren't able to get them before, and then Relic 10 would be bumped into the R9 spots.
I think we're going to see the R10 mats very shortly when the TV rewards come out.
yes, exactly. All right, so let's finish this conversation off from again Zorro. Which
That guy asked a
GL?
lot of questions.
No, he asked a lot of fun questions that had nothing to do with the conversation we were actually. But let's go with which GL has the coolest, most fun kit to play with. You can't add in datacrons or any of the extras that CG is throwing out. Just their kit. Where do you get the most joy when you're playing your GLs? Because everyone on this conversation has a GL. Talk about your joy.
Supreme Leader Kylo hitting for big numbers.
I agree. I just got Kylo, and I've been watching him kill Lord Vader is the single most satisfying part of the game for me right now. It is bringing me so much joy. Yeah, his kit's fun. It's got I'm really liking Supreme Leader.
Just wait till you go up against a Lord Vader with a 50% dodge cron on it, and you watch him whiff on Maul 3 times in a row.
Oh, I've done
Freaking
that. I've
awesome.
seen it. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Again,
So
we're
gratifying.
talking about none of those buffs. We're talking about just straight up. Which one do you get the most joy out of, Bull?
I don't know. I don't have him yet, but I like the Rancor with Jabba. I think that's pretty freaking cool, to be honest. But I don't know. I think the favorite one that I have is actually Profundity's Ultimate, where it sends out the Taunted 4. That's probably my favorite one.
I will allow you that. That is, yeah. I don't have it. I'm jealous. Technically not a GL, but it's within the spirit of the conversation, I believe. So that's really, really good. R2 DQ, your favorite.
Oh man. He's not my favorite GL, but I do love when you get the ult off with C and just watching him absolutely decimate a Jedi team.
Brax?
I think that I really enjoy when you get the ultimate off on JML, and then you do his AOE and just take out a whole team. Like, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that one's great too.
So I actually love JMK, but it's because of Cat. Everyone knows I'm a huge Ahsoka fan. Just absolutely deleting someone from the match, just it makes my heart leap. It's one of my favorite things and favorite characters, favorite abilities in the entire game. So that's my favorite. Did I miss anyone on this conversation?
You did.
There we
Chameleon.
go. Chameleon.
So I have been a fanboy of him since I got him, and I will always say that Lord Vader is still one of the best GLs there is, pre-Datacrons. Everyone who was so against it, I have gotten more wins in GAC because of Lord Vader pre-Datacrons than anything else.
Yeah, but you never use them. You just put them on defense.
Oh, and I mean, I climbed with them in arena every day as
Okay.
well.
All right.
Yeah.
But I will say I tried Jabba for the first time like today, and I love playing him so far. It looks like it's gonna be a fun team, so maybe that'll take over for me.
You know, it's funny.
Ironic.
No one said Ray.
That's what I was about to say. That's ironically, we said every GL except for Ray.
Well, you have to have some. I have to have a GL before you know if they're any good.
Her kid is really good.
Like
It's just,
Ray.
the question was about fun, and
Yeah.
Kylo's more fun.
I'm with Lab there. If I didn't choose Cat as a, you know, how she operates under JMK, then it would have been SLK because he is really ton of fun. Ray is good. She is serviceable. She is boring. Let's just be honest. She's boring. All right. So I'm going to allow everyone else. I'm going to run through the list. Let's start wrapping this down. Say your final comments for tonight. Any information you want to throw out. Let's start with Thole as the grandfather of the Alliance.
Good old Grandpappy Thole. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's been fun as always. You guys do a great job with the podcast, and anytime that I have a chance to come on here with you guys and I'm able to, I appreciate it. I think it's very informative, and hopefully everyone else that listens to it enjoys listening to it as much as I enjoy listening to you guys as well. So that being said, I still am going to stand by what I said the last podcast, that Inquisitors are still massively underrated. And when Reva comes out, she is going to prove me right. That's all.
Fair enough. Let's move to Chameleon. Thanks for joining us. It's always great to have a new voice within this chat to provide a new perspective. So, what are your final thoughts?
And thank you for having me. I'm glad to join this tonight. I am really excited for the new content coming. I will joke all the time that I hate TB. It drains my soul, but honestly, it is my favorite thing. I do love running TB, and again with the officers in Mandalore, it's always a blast. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I can't wait to share whatever details we have in Mandalore with everyone.
Yeah, please do. I run, as I've said before, TB within Mustafar. I'm really looking forward to hearing your insight. So we'll get you on again to share your insight. R2D DQ. Let's hear your final thoughts on the night.
Again, it's glad to be on. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this new content. You know, especially as a player. You know, to test my roster and see how it goes. You know, as previously mentioned, as a TB officer, it can be stressful actually running it, but definitely excited to give it a shot, and still knocking on wood that somehow Red 5 shows up and Fleet Farms get accelerated.
Oh God, Fleet Farms. All right, let's go to Meet You Later. What are your final thoughts?
Well, like everyone said, thank you for having me on. My final thoughts will be: if you haven't started farming Inquisitors, don't believe the hype and wait until April.
Ooh.
I think that was part of our last episode.
The
I
hype
think
is
we all.
the hype is going up again. The hype is going up. People are, now that this has all come out and everyone sees it, I'm hearing people think, "Oh, should I farm Inquisitors?" We can be patient.
I think we all agreed that if you started farming them now, if you do the math, you reach about the same result if you waited till April. It's a long, tough farm. Sometimes you have to skip a meta, and I still support yours analysis on that. Maybe some other sources will disagree, but it's a really good take, Meet You Later. I appreciate it.
You didn't say that when I said that about Inquisitors.
You already have them.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not talking to you. You farmed them. It's like 6 months ago. You probably had them.
That's besides the point. That's besides the point.
Everyone
Yep.
with R7 fifth brother, pipe down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, fine. I'll be quiet. Sorry.
Notice I gave enough silence for there to be a little bit of pushback against that opinion. All right, next up, Brax. Thanks again. What's your final comments for tonight?
Well, of course, thank you for allowing me to join. It's always nice to be with people that make me look smarter. So appreciate that. I was just gonna actually ask a question to everybody here because we've gone this whole podcast and haven't talked about food or anything like that. So I'm gonna throw out the question to everybody real quick. Next week's Thanksgiving in the US. What is your favorite and least favorite food for Thanksgiving?
Oh, you have to throw down names, Brax, when you do that. If you're going to take over a host question.
Okay. So Rem, you get to go first.
All right. So what I'm looking forward to is the spiral ham. That nice brown sugar flavor on a well cooked ham. Yeah, that's what I look forward to every Thanksgiving.
And least favorite?
Of least favorite?
Yeah.
Geez. I'm not a big fan. My family loves to cook okra, and I've just never been a fan of okra. It's not something that I participate in.
Okay. Glab, how about you?
Look, I'm the carbohydrate expert here, so I want to tell you that the best dish at Thanksgiving by far is mac and cheese, okay? And it's got to be, it's not that boxed mac and cheese stuff, it's homemade
Oh
with
yeah.
like the good cheese on it, okay? So that's my favorite, and I have no idea why people like stuffing. It is not good. It's not even passable. It's like putting sawdust in your mouth that has salt on it, so you're even thirstier than you would be if you'd put regular sawdust on. Why do people like that stuff? Why is that a thing? Is
That
that so
is
that
my
we can be
answer.
thankful for the other good
Because
foods?
you haven't had any good stuffing
Yeah.
or dressing yet. That's your
Yeah.
problem.
Can I back up Lab on this one?
No.
I have
No, stovetop does not count.
You asked the question. You got your answer. Sorry, go ahead.
Thole, so your thoughts?
So actually, yeah, my one that I always look forward to the most is my wife's. Here in Oklahoma, it's called dressing. It's not stuffing.
I knew you were going to be lame.
And it's homemade. It doesn't have a recipe. It's like one of those things that's been passed down from her grandmother. It's like pinch of this and some of that, and it's amazing. So that is probably the thing that I look forward to the most. And you can put it with anything. So I mean that's you can have it with ham, you can have it with turkey, you can have it with mashed potatoes, you can have it by itself. I mean it's awesome. The worst thing for Thanksgiving is probably anything that is a dessert with a nut in it. So yeah, don't come at me with your fudge with nuts in it, or brownies with nuts, or cookies with nuts. Mm-mm. If God intended that stuff to crunch, He would have made it that way to start with.
All right, so
No love for
Thole,
pecan pies.
I'm gonna counter you a little bit. I will be up in Oklahoma this weekend or
Oh,
this
nice.
Thursday to enjoy my family's Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm still going to skip the stuffing. I hate to tell you that.
All right. So R2DQ.
I gotta echo Lab. I mean, it's the mac and cheese. But I'm looking forward. I'm actually going down to see my family in Tennessee, so I'm also just looking forward to having some good Southern cooking. Um, I will definitely be driving back up to back home, probably weighing an extra 10, 15 pounds. But not complaining about that. And least favorite thing that's a staple of Thanksgiving, easily pumpkin pie.
I knew you were gonna steal it.
Oh,
I mean, I would have said the same thing if you went first. I just echo you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chameleon.
So I took over running Thanksgiving for my family and everything last year. So my favorite thing actually was the turkey. I went crazy and used a lot of butter, probably more than I should have. Paula Dean probably would have had a heart attack.
no, that's the right way to go. Always butter, butter, butter.
And even my mom, who was cooking Thanksgiving for my entire life before that, kind of was like, all right, yep, you're doing it next year because I give up. So um, least favorite, I will also steal pumpkin pie. It is gross. It should never be invented. If not that, whatever vegetarian dish my father-in-law's girlfriend brings, um, that also can go in the garbage.
Fair enough.
He
Me.
was a big fan of the podcast too, by the way.
Yeah, I go stuffing is the thing I go right for at the start. I love stuffing. So one, I already know my answer, so I got to celebrate mine over a month ago, so I know how this all turned out for me. The stuffing was amazing. I had 2 servings. I eat it. I go back. I get more. Put more gravy on it. I eat it again. And then yeah, pumpkin pie is just the most useless thing in like. I mean, as long as there's other desserts, I can ignore it. But someone wasted their time and money and or effort like making that and bringing it to Thanksgiving dinner.
Wow. So now we have pineapple on pizza and pumpkin pie as the two most controversial.
I mean, no one
Item.
said pumpkin pie was their favorite thing. It wasn't like like no one was.
It's true.
Oh no! I love pumpkin pie.
It wasn't your favorite though.
No, it's not my favorite, but you can't remove that from the list of items that I'm going to eat. I mean, if you ask me my favorite Thanksgiving dessert, we're talking a whole different story here. It would be pumpkin pie. So I'm going to throw down a little bit.
All right.
So my favorite, I think it actually is turkey, and not only on Thanksgiving, but actually turkey the next day as well. Like throw that on some bread, make a little turkey sandwich. Like that's pretty stellar right there.
Do you have the moist maker in there?
Yes, there we go.
Wow.
And my least favorite, and I do like pumpkin pie, so but there is a pie that I do not enjoy, and this kind of goes into what Thol was saying, but pecan pie, yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, that could go to hell.
So much anger over desserts.
Yeah. Well, all right. I think we have one last person to say their final comments, and that's Lab Monkey. Let's hear what your last information you want to throw out to the podcast.
I mean, look, I could throw out a tidbit about the new TB or the gear changes or whatever, just SWOGA in general. But I think the most important thing to leave everybody with right now is that God has given us his food, and it is pineapple on pizza. And the
Preach,
fact
brother.
that there are so many of you out there who are resisting his loving embrace just tells me that you're not ready to accept him as your Lord and Savior of food. So please, please consider this your pre-Christmas message. He came to earth as a child so that you could have pineapple on pizza. Please, please let him into your heart and your stomach. That's all.
I can't disagree with that. I think when you're worn out of dealing with all the family and you need to order some pizza to be delivered, pineapple. I'm a huge fan of it. You and I agree, Lab. That should be somebody's final decisions. Hey, it's been great to talk with everyone here. This has been really fun. We had many people that were passionate. Probably one of the biggest groups of individuals that are worthy of our alliance members asking advice from to join a podcast in a long while. So thank you all for joining us. And unless anyone has something more to say, this was great. Good night.
Thanks for hosting, Rem.
Thank you, everybody.